Chapter 21. Immunity. Leviticus 11, 9-28. These shall ye eat of all that are in the waters, whatsoever hath fins and scales in the waters, in the seas and in the rivers, them shall ye eat. And all that have not fins and scales in the seas, and in the rivers, of all that move in the waters, and of any living thing which is in the waters, they shall be an abomination unto you. They shall be even an abomination unto you. Ye shall not eat of their flesh, but ye shall have their carcasses in abomination. Whatsoever hath no fins nor scales in the waters, that shall be an abomination unto you. And these are they which ye shall have an abomination among the fowls. They shall not be eaten, they are an abomination. The eagle, and the ossifrage, and the osprey, and the vulture, and the kite after his kind, every raven after his kind, and the owl, and the nighthawk, and the cuckoo, and the hawk after his kind, and the little owl, and the cormorant, and the great owl, and the swan, and the pelican, and the gier eagle, and the stork, the heron after her kind, and the lapwing, and the bat. All fowls that creep, going upon all four, shall be an abomination unto you. Yet these may ye eat of every flying, creeping thing that goeth upon all four, which have legs above their feet, to leap withal upon the earth. Even these of them ye may eat, the locust after his kind, and the ball locust after his kind, and the beetle after his kind, and the grasshopper after his kind. But all other flying, creeping things which have 4 feet shall be an abomination unto you. For these ye shall be unclean. Whosoever toucheth the carcass of them shall be unclean until the even. And whosoever beareth aught of the carcass of them shall wash his clothes and be unclean until the even. The carcasses of every beast which divideth the hoof, and is not cloven-footed, nor cheweth the cud, are unclean unto you. Every one that toucheth them shall be unclean. And whatsoever goeth upon his paws among all manners of beasts that go on all four, those are unclean unto you. Whoso toucheth their carcass shall be unclean until the even. And he that beareth the carcass of them shall wash his clothes, and be unclean until the even. They are unclean unto you. Leviticus 11, 9-28. The first dietary law of Scripture appears in Genesis 1, 29 following, which declares that all fruits and vegetables are permitted as food. In Leviticus 11, all herbivorous animals which meet the 2 specifications of a divided hoof and chewing the cud are clean. 10 animals, both wild and domestic, are specifically named in Deuteronomy 14, 4 and 5. All birds of prey are forbidden. Since the rabbis held that whatever comes from an unclean thing is unclean, the eggs of forbidden birds have usually been held to be unclean. With respect to fish, the requirements are fins and scales. Here some division has existed among Orthodox and conservative Jews. In England, the sturgeon is banned, but in America both the sturgeon and the swordfish are permitted. 4 kinds of insects. All locusts are permitted, and these were usually desert fare in difficult times, Matthew 3:4. The bee is not included in the list of clean insects, but because the honey is a transferred nectar, it is clean. Not all portions of clean animals can be used as food, that is, the sciatic nerve, Genesis 32:32, and abdominal fat, Leviticus 3:17, 7:23-25, are forbidden. Blood is, of course, also forbidden as food, and in Ezekiel 33:25-26, the eating of blood is equated with idolatry and murder, and also with adultery. The rabbis taught that obedience to the dietary laws had to be theological. Rather than saying, "I do not like the flesh of swine," it is better to say, "I like it, but must abstain, seeing the Torah has forbidden it." In most cases, Jews have, in past centuries, erred on the side of overstrictness in order to be safe. Thus, in the late 9th or early 10th century AD, Daniel al-Qumisi held, "In general, he who fears God must keep away from all things subject to doubt as to their permissibility." Some rabbis saw physical and spiritual consequences, including a blunting of intellectual powers in the eating of forbidden foods. Maimonides gave an exclusively hygienic explanation, as did others in the medieval era. This was easy to do, given the extensive immunity of Jews as against Christians in the times of epidemics and plagues. In the last century, Reformed Jews began to abandon the Dietary Laws as unspiritual and as debasing to true religion, as John D. Rayner stated it in 1968. At about the same time in the past century that Reformed Jews separated themselves from the Dietary Laws, an American Presbyterian scholar, Samuel Henry Kellogg, 1839 to 1899, called attention to their validity and the better health and longevity of Orthodox Jews. In this matter, we are not left to guessing. The facts are before the world and are undisputed. Even so long ago as the days when the plague was desolating Europe, the Jews so universally escaped infection that, by this their exemption, the popular suspicion was excited into fury, and they were accused of causing the fearful mortality among their Gentile neighbours by poisoning the wells and springs. In our own day, in the recent cholera epidemic in Italy, a correspondent of the Jewish Chronicle testifies that the Jews enjoyed almost absolute immunity, at the least from fatal attack. Kellogg cited data concerning the mean average of Jewish and non-Jewish lifespans in Prussia, Hungary, Croatia, Germany, and elsewhere. The data was markedly in favour of the Jews, and this despite the fact that the Jews generally are poor and live under much more unfavourable sanitary conditions than their Gentile neighbours. With the modern emphasis on health foods, it is a remarkable fact of human perversity that God's proven dietary laws are so commonly bypassed. Very early, Jews added intelligent methods to the care and preparation of the permitted meats. To render meat kosher, both of mammal and fowl, it must be put in cold water for an hour, then an hour in salt, and finally be set on an earthen vessel having holes for draining. Lastly, it must undergo another washing in cold water. The historical data makes it clear, as does also recent research, that the forbidden foods have a destructive effect on the immune system of our bodies. As such, they are a form of poisoning, a food type which goes counter to the body's normal working and vitality. The word abomination is applied to the forbidden foods. A more modern translation is filth. The word shigatz appears only in Leviticus 11, although there are two other words translated as abomination. Our separation from filth unto holiness and God's service not only makes us useful to the Lord, but also gives us health and life in His service. Wenham, in his comment on verses 24 and 25, called attention to four aspects thereof. First, verses 24 and 27, 31 and 39, it is dead animals which pollute men. Second, all dead animals, unless killed according to the law, are unclean. If clean animals die a natural death, they are unclean. Verse 39. They cannot be eaten, and they render a man unclean when they are handled. Verses 39 and 40. Third, such an uncleanness is temporary, lasting only until evening of the day it occurs. Verses 24 and 25, 27 and 28, etc. Other forms of pollution can last a week, 15-13, 2 months, 12-5, or indefinitely, 13-45 and 46. Fourth, household articles become unclean on contact with unclean carcasses and must be washed. Verses 25, 28, 32, 41. Unclean animals do not pollute when alive, but they do pollute when dead. It is noteworthy that the biblical classification of animals is an important means of knowledge. Too often, modern classifications represent evolutionary ideology. They rest on older classifications but have been subjected to new frameworks. C.D. Ginsburg gave us a summary of the definitions of clean and unclean fish as established in the era of the Second Temple. 1. All fishes with scales have invariably also fins, but fishes which have fins have not always scales. Any fish, therefore, or even a piece of one exposed by itself for sale in the market, which exhibits scales, may be eaten, for it is to be taken for granted that it had fins, or that the fins cannot be seen because of their extraordinary smallness. But, on the other hand, a fish with fins may exist without scales, and hence is unclean. 2. Clean fishes have a complete vertebral column, but the unclean have simply single joints, united by gelatinous cord. To the former class belong A. the soft fins, or the salmon and trout, the capellan and grayling, the herring, the anchovy and the sardine, the pike and carp families, the cod, and the hake and the haddock, the sole, the turbot, and the plaice. B. The spiny fins, as the perch, the mackerel, and the tunny. To the latter class belong the shark tribe, the sturgeons with their caviar, the lamprey, and the nine-eyed eel. 3. The head of clean fishes is more or less broad, whilst that of the unclean kinds is more or less pointed at the end, as the eel, the mammalian species, etc. 4. The swimming bladder of clean fishes is rounded at one end and pointed at the other, whilst that of the unclean fishes is either rounded or pointed at both extremities alike. It is an allusion to this law that we are told in the parable of the fishermen, which is taken from Jewish life, that when they drew to shore the nets with every kind of fish, the fishermen sat down, that is, to examine the clean and the unclean, and gathered the good, that is, the clean, into the vessels, but cast the bad, that is, the unclean, away. Matthew 13:48. The Orthodox Jews to this day strictly observe these regulations, and abhor eating those fishes which are enumerated under the 4 above-named criteria of not clean. It is, moreover, to be remarked that fishes without scales are also still regarded in Egypt as unwholesome, and that the Romans would not permit them to be offered in sacrifice. Such a division and classification has as its purposes man's holiness and health. The result of such a classification, when respected and applied, is our sanctification and also our immunity. The fact that recent studies have shown that obedience to God's dietary laws strengthens our immunities should not blind us to the fact that, though this may be a new discovery, it is also an affirmation of God's law, namely that obedience gives health, prosperity, and fertility. Thou shalt therefore keep the commandments and the statutes and the judgments which I command thee this day, to do them. Wherefore it shall come to pass, if ye hearken to these judgments, and keep and do them, that the Lord thy God shall keep unto thee the covenant and the mercy which he sware unto thy fathers, and he will love thee and bless thee, and multiply thee. He will also bless the fruit of thy womb, and the fruit of thy land, thy corn, and thy wine, and thine oil, the increase of thy kine, and the flocks of thy sheep, in the land which he sware unto thy fathers to give thee. Thou shalt be blessed above all people. There shall not be male or female barren among you, or among your cattle. And the Lord will take away from thee all sickness, and will put none of the evil diseases of Egypt, which thou knowest, upon thee, but will lay them upon all them that hate thee. Deuteronomy 7:11-15.